consent. You can jump off the recording at this time. Okay. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's session, Introduction to DesktopReady, Leveraging Microsoft Technologies to Bring Modern Remote Desktops to Nonprofits. My name is Flora Mulia, and I lead the Azure strategy on the Tech for Social Impact team at Microsoft, supporting nonprofit organizations worldwide. I'm joined today by Ashish Bambru and Vinod Jayachandran from DesktopReady to share more about Windows Virtual Desktop and the DesktopReady platform and solutions. Ashish and Vinod, just want to hand it over to you to introduce yourselves briefly.
Sure. Thank you so much, Flora. Very happy to be here. This is Ashish Bambru. I run DesktopReady for Ananta. We are a VDI and DAS-focused company. Very excited to be here, and we're going to be sharing with you how we have taken WD and Azure to a point where it can be easily consumed by nonprofits like yourselves.
Yeah, so this is Vinod Jayachandran, CTO at Ananta Tech, and also a part of DesktopReady platform. So happy to be here, excited to be showing some of the platform that we have and how easily you guys can consume some of the WVD desktops. So thanks for joining us.
Perfect. Thank you both. Yeah, we're very excited to partner with DesktopReady on this session. And so just to talk you through what we'll be going through today. So I'll be providing an overview of what Windows Virtual Desktop is for those of you who may not be familiar, as well as an overview of our new customer offer, which Microsoft launched last week. And then I'll pass it off to the DesktopReady team to do an overview of their platform and solution and provide a demo, and then we'll wrap with Q&A. We do have someone, if you've got questions throughout the presentation, we do have someone monitoring the chat. So feel free to just put your question in the chat and we'll try to answer those in real time as we go along. And then just generally, if you don't mind muting yourselves just to ensure everyone has a good audio experience, that would be great. And yeah, if there's any other technical difficulties, we also have someone here to help on that front as well. So I think with that, we will jump right in. So starting with an overview of Windows Virtual Desktop. So Windows Virtual Desktop is an Azure-powered virtualization or desktop virtualization solution. And this has been a tough year for everyone. The pandemic has caused all of us to have to work from home and engage with technology in a completely different way. And so virtualization helps organizations deal with a number of business challenges and requirements. First and foremost, it provides secure access to data and organizational resources. So for those of you who work with vulnerable populations or have data requirements to support those populations, it enables you to protect the applications and the data that serve those groups. It also helps you comply with industry regulations. So for any of the nonprofits that have to meet HIPAA requirements or a variety of different governmental requirements, it enables you to do that. It supports an elastic workforce. And so many nonprofits that we serve work with contractors or partners to help implement technology or even just do day-to-day work. And so desktop virtualization helps provide that in a simplified manner. It also enables employees to bring their own devices. And so as we work from home more often, whether someone has an outage with their computer or just has to use their PC or mobile device, they can be able to do that very easily with desktop virtualization. It also provides the ability for you to access specialized workloads, such as legacy applications. So at the beginning of the pandemic, one of the things that we saw happen with many organizations is that their key line of business applications, whether that was a beneficiary management system, fundraising, volunteer management, might have been built a while back and had built in a non-cloud fashion legacy format. And so this enables organizations to access those key applications regardless of whether or not they're cloud enabled and really kind of make sure you can keep your lights on at the end of the day. From an IT perspective, it really helps employees stay productive with a virtualized experience on a PC, phone, or tablet, or browser in the same way that they would if they were in the office accessing those core applications, and provide simplified management, provisioning, and access to those applications. It also provides the ability for organizations to reduce their IT costs and management requirements associated with managing an on-premises infrastructure. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both kind of the user and the IT side of things, because I'm sure we've got a variety of people on the call who've got kind of different experiences. So again, Windows Virtual Desktop is desktop virtualization powered by Azure that provides users with a full Windows 10 enterprise experience, including Edge, Cortana, and the Microsoft Store. It also provides a familiar Office 365 Pro Plus user experience. So it's the same Office 365 desktop download that your users are probably comfortable with and accustomed to using on a daily basis. It provides GPU acceleration for encoding and video. So if you've got users that require media playback, it ensures a smooth playback experience for them. And then it also enables them to access built-in or attached cameras in both legacy and new Windows applications as well. From an IT admin perspective, it enables you to reduce your cost by supporting up to 4 times as many users compared to a Windows 10 Enterprise single session, and simplifies management with a single image for both single session and multi-user. One of the best parts about Windows Virtual Desktop is that many organizations already have the license entitlements to get started. So in order to leverage Windows Virtual Desktop, the key backend license that you'll notice that's a theme through all of these is Windows 10 single, Windows 10 multi-session, and Windows 10 7, or sorry, Windows 7, excuse me. And so those licenses come through a variety of different license options depending on what your organization uses. The most common ones that we see nonprofits using today are Microsoft 365 E3 and E5, Microsoft 365 F3, Microsoft 365 Business Premium, Windows 10 VDA per user, and then also you can access it through the server through the RDS CAL with software assurance. On top of those base licenses that provide you the entitlements to the Windows side of the house, the other kind of licensing bit is the Azure component. And so for that, you literally just pay Azure compute costs depending on your deployment needs and sort of the requirements for your architecture setup. So speaking of Azure and compute costs and deployment needs, I wanted to let you all know about a new and exciting offer that Microsoft just launched last week for customers that are brand new to Windows Virtual Desktop. So nonprofits qualify for this offer, and it enables you to save 30% on computing costs for D series and B series virtual machines for up to 90 days. If you're a new customer to WVD and you're deploying the WVD native solution. So that means it needs to be on Azure directly, not through Citrix or VMware or one of the other virtualization providers, as long as you activate before March 31st of 2021. So just to underline that one more time, I'll say it. I'll say it again. So we're offering a 30% discount on compute for D series and B series virtual machines for 90 days for new customers when deploying WVD native before March 31st. And the good news is that this is available to customers regardless of how they're purchasing. So if you're purchasing through WebDirect with a credit card, whether you've got a CSP provider that you purchase through with a partner or an enterprise agreement, all of these channels enable you to purchase. And then at the end of the 90-day term, unless you deprovision or deallocate those licenses, you'll automatically go into standard billing at the standard Azure rates unless you do the deprovisioning.
Hey, Flora, just real quick, I think there are some comments in chat regarding not being able to access the presentation. Yeah, so is there anybody still not able to see the presentation?
I would try just exiting and rejoining. I think it depends. The suggestion was some people maybe just need to rejoin.
Yeah, I can see the presentation fine.
Okay, good.
I can see it too.
Okay, we can proceed. I think so. You
just click on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it may be. I think
Yeah.
I might have been the spotlight. Let me exit the spotlight so that you can see the presentation. Did that help everyone?
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. I'm not sure how that happened, but hopefully you still got the general flow, and it should be in the recording as well. So if you want to go back and take a look at the slides, but if you have any questions on the content, please just let us know. Okay, are we good to proceed?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay, so we definitely want to make sure that you're able to take advantage of this offer. So if you're interested in learning more, you can just search for Windows Virtual Desktop on the Azure.com site, and there's full details on the offer. We also have it featured on the Microsoft.com/nonprofit site on the Azure page if you want to navigate kind of through the nonprofit channel. We also sent out a blurb in the invite to the presentation that we sent last week, and we'll also send some in the follow-on materials. So if you want to get started, you should either be able to search for this directly or go ahead and get going. And then you can also just go ahead straight into the portal and activate from your Azure portal. I see a question in the chat on a B versus D series virtual machine. The different types of virtual machines have different compute powers. And so B series and D series are two of our more standard compute virtual machines that support standard infrastructure workloads. And so for a Windows Virtual Desktop instance deployment, they are commonly used virtual machines. And so if you were to go ahead and actually drive the compute and get set up with WVD, they are two of the VM series. And so series, you can deploy depending on your requirements and uptime and things like that. There's a number of ways you can deploy them, but they are sort of two of the series that most specifically support this solution. And then yes, this is a 30% discount for 3 months. So. Okay, and if I can keep monitoring the chat for questions, but if nothing else on this, I'm going to go ahead and pass over to the team at DesktopReady to provide an overview of their solution and offers. Ashish and Vinod, over to you.
Thank you, Flora. I just would also mention that we do have time for Q&A towards the end, so we'll try to get the questions that we have as they come in, but we'll also spend some time towards the later part answering questions. So, Flora set it up. We had an unprecedented time, in spring of last year with COVID. It impacted almost everybody in some form or shape. But more critically, it impacted businesses and small businesses and nonprofits as well. And so employees kind of had to navigate and figure out how they operate in this new norm. And so what we're going to be talking in the next 15, 20 minutes is how a Microsoft Premier partner, Ananta Technologies, built a solution called DesktopReady to really take the latest Microsoft technologies like WVD and leveraging Azure. And we brought in a lot of our own capabilities that we had acquired over a period of time to build a DaaS solution that would solve for some of the challenges that are being faced in that new norm, with remote being kind of the primary way employees are engaging. So let's take a few minutes and talk about DesktopReady in more detail. But before we do that, well, Microsoft needs no introduction, but we do. So let me take a minute to talk about the company that is bringing DesktopReady to market, which is Ananta Technologies. Ananta is a 10-year-old company, and what the way we are different is that we do one thing and we do that very well. And that one thing is the whole virtualization, the VDI infrastructure, VDI market. And we've been in this market even before this was a very well-known category, or there was a lot of buzz around it. So we've been focused on that. And over the last decade, we have actually onboarded close to 500,000 desktops from on-premise to the cloud. And I think in the industry right now, it would be hard to match that level of experience and expertise. We currently have close to about 200,000 remote desktops in our active management. We work very closely with the leading virtualization technologies like Microsoft and also VMware and Citrix, and have things like an end user testing lab, a peripheral lab, where we will be looking at all the latest peripherals, applications, other endpoints, and we'll be in that lab looking at what is the best way to optimize, how do we ensure that our customers have seamless experience. So that's kind of little background about the company, and I wanted to share this with you, and this is what goes in the background or needs to happen for a desktop as a service solution, whether it is based on WVD or any other older technologies. This is really kind of the spectrum of services and spectrum of tasks that needs to be completed. You start with design, you got to design it, and then you got to use a technology like WVD to build, provision it to the end customers. Once you do that, then you got to onboard your employees and on the new platform. You got to migrate if there are any old applications or any older data. And then once you complete that, then you really have to manage it, which we call day-to operations. That basically means we got to keep those lights on. Things like hey, we need to do upgrades. There's a problem and we need to handle it and provide a help desk to ensure that all the employees have access to any questions or challenges that they have, and we provide monitoring. So this is kind of the spectrum of all the things that happen to really deliver a successful DaaS solution. And what we have done as DesktopReady is we've taken WVD and we have layered these services and capabilities that we have as a company, and we have brought to the market a fully managed 20 desktops. So DesktopReady built on Azure and WVD, as I mentioned. And when we were kind of building the product, we kind of looked at key customer needs. And some of this may be repetition, but I think it is important to highlight. The fact that there is remote is kind of first aspect to be taken care of. Customers wanted anytime, anywhere, and any device access. This bring your own device has been in the market for a while now, and a lot of IT managers, whether they are in large or small companies, are trying to kind of figure out how they can account for it. So we provide access to applications from any device, from any location. Customers want a highly secure yet very flexible and scalable solution where the security may be sometimes mandated by the industry or the vertical or the job that they're doing. So compliance is very important. And so we build DesktopReady on Azure, and Azure, as you guys probably know, meets a lot of those, and I would say sets a lot of those standards in terms of regulations and security. Customers wanted reduced total cost of ownership. There are lots of hidden costs in managing in-house IT, and the companies over a period of time had seen the challenges of that. So we wanted to provide them a truly low-touch, zero-touch, where no in-house employee is required for setting it up. And last but not the least, the access to specialized IT is very challenging for small and mid-sized customers, even for enterprises, but more so as you kind of go lower down on the spectrum. And so we wanted to provide a really fully managed desktop for those customers so that they don't have to worry about setup, management, and upgrading of that. So we really thought of let's design DesktopReady, keeping those things in mind. DesktopReady has been in market now for over 3 months. We have customers today that we are serving from our platform. And the thing that we always keep in mind, the 4 things that we have to ensure that we are delivering every time we get to a new customer is that it has to be easy and simple to deploy. We're talking about deploying in minutes. In fact, many of our customers are surprised with how quickly we're able to provision cloud desktops for them. It needs to be secure and compliant based on a lot of the compliance standards that the customers have based on what they are doing. It needs to be fully managed, where we are providing them all the services and X support that they need, including a 24/7 help desk that will help them with any support issues or any predictive monitoring and infrastructure monitoring and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, we want to deliver them an absolutely unmatched Windows 10 desktop environment.
Ashish, we just lost your audio. I think you're on mute.
All right. Am I back? How
Yeah.
much did you? I didn't press the button, but
just 10 seconds maybe. It was quick.
Okay. So I was going to say, in the end, that we really focus on providing this unmatched cloud desktop Windows 10 environment experience, where they can bring their Office applications and other applications, and in a absolutely lag-free environment are able to enjoy the same experience that they have had on their personal desktops. Moving along, when we look at DesktopReady, we have two plans or categories. The business plan is the one that is primarily recommended for nonprofits and other SMB organizations. The individual plan is targeted towards companies or individuals actually who may be more in the test phase, or they may have a very small need. The big difference between the two is that in the business plan, we actually provide a dedicated Active Directory and file server, while as in the individual plan, the Active Directory and file server is logically shared, is physically shared, but logically still secure. But many businesses, they really want to have their own dedicated Active Directory and file server, and which is what we recommend. So any real business requirement, we recommend the business plan. Some of the other big benefits or additional features of the business plan is the fact that you can bring your own custom applications. So we will install those custom applications for you. We will provide services like migration. We provide admin portal to manage user assignments, and we provide assistance in terms of if you have any custom peripherals or end devices, will help you integrate those. And last but not the least, and probably very, very important, we provide a 24/7 support, 24/7 support with high level of SLAs. While as in the individual plan, we only provide a business hour support. So that's our two plans. You will see some of these plans in more action as Vinod gives a demo in a little while. Moving along, we are a global company. A lot of our operations are based out of India. That's where we have our 24/7 support infrastructure that runs shifts, and we are able to provide support to customers across the globe. But we do have customers throughout the globe, and are in a position to support customers in those regions. Flora mentioned about the offer that WVD is making available, the 30% off. So we are actually extending that offer and making that available. Given that WVD compute cost is only one portion of the complete cost that DesktopReady incurs and brings to the customer. So we are taking the 30% discount to WVD and passing it on to the customer, and also layering some of our own discounts to the pieces that DesktopReady is bringing to the table. And that brings about a 15% discount on the complete desktop. So when you go to the DesktopReady website, you will be able to get a 15% discount on the complete monthly plan. And we will extend that for 3 months for any orders that are activated through the end of March. And with that, I would like to bring in Vinod Jayachandran, the CTO at DesktopReady, to kind of maybe just talk real quick about the architecture and then provide us a demo.
All right. Hey, thanks, Ashish. Hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so let me quickly touch upon the architecture of Desktop Ready and how it works with the WVD control plane, as well as your Azure subscription. So the key idea is to abstract a lot of the moving parts that needs to be orchestrated to create that end desktop that is available for the user. So Desktop Ready's control plane, you see the blue components are all part of the Desktop Ready control plane. The blue components into the subscription area. In these blue components, you have various access control as well as the provisioning engine, reporting engine, and all of that. But essentially works with your Azure in the backend to orchestrate, take the request from the user, whether it is to create a desktop, whether it is to add a user, assign users to desktop, so on and so forth, and goes through the system and orchestrates in the backend to create those desktops and make that available and register for the user. There is an option. So this is the most of our customers use a standalone version, which means there is everything is contained in the Azure subscription itself. But there is also a possibility of extending that to a backend data center if there are applications that need to be accessed from the backend, if there are Active Directory that is sitting in a data center that needs to be accessed for user control. All of that goes through a express router or VPN back to that from the Azure subscription and able to access that as well. So keep this sort of high level picture in mind as we go through the demo itself. So I'm going to now switch from
Hey, Vinod, before we switch, there's a couple of questions in the chat. I was wondering if you could help address. Jeffrey Price asked if this integrates with an existing Office 365 Azure AD. I think that was addressed, but Vinod, do you want to just go into that a little bit quickly?
Yeah, so we can integrate this with an existing Office 365 Azure AD. That's no problem at all, and then you can get your users and licenses from there. Yeah.
Perfect. And then another question on supporting multi-factor authentication and login to client systems as well.
So today, so there are two parts. There are two ways to answer that. We can provide a two-factor authentication into the end remote desktop, but there is no two-factor authentication into the admin portal. So there is an admin portal where the administrator can control addition of users and assignment of desktops and all of that. That does not have a two-factor authentication, but the end customer, for security reasons, the end customer and the end user rather, and access to the remote desktop itself can be provided with a two-factor authentication.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so this is our Desktop Ready portal, which you can access from the website itself, and it'll take you to what plans that you want and a few questions. So I want to walk you through this initial portal of where you're selecting the type of desktops, use cases that you want to apply to, and all of that, and then I'll take you through the admin panel as well on some of what you can do from an administration perspective. So first is a selection of plans. For ease here, let's just stick with a business plan. So this will automatically, when we go through the process, create a separate subscription, Active Directory file server, and all of that within the contained subscription, and create the workload desktops also inside the subscription. So everything there is contained with a separate subscription for every customer. And this is where we ask whether you want licenses to be included in here, or if you have your own Office 365 setup already, then we can just integrate that when we get to setting up the back end of it. So, but I'm going to here is just say yes here. The additional question is also this is for those who do not have some of these licenses. We're just looking to get this as a package, or you're just having these desktops for, let's say, a temporary workforce that you're not sure how long they're going to be or how long you need the licenses for. So everything here is month to month, and you can basically turn it up just for that workforce and take it forward if needed. And this is for your devices, endpoints that may not be a Windows Professional endpoints. You can include that as well. So that will reflect straight up on just licensing costs as you get to it. The next is where you select the different types of desktops you want. So this is one of the key places where we have organized the desktops themselves based on various use cases and potential user profiles. So it goes from actually from a continuum of just task workers who might just be using a browser or browser-based applications, or very low compute desktop applications. And going from there to potentially even heavy for a developer or graphic designer. And that's where we really start for even for folks who might end up doing Zoom, WebEx, etc. On a daily basis. And all of the desktops in the pool section are actually multi-session, Windows 10 multi-session desktops. You get a sense for how the desktops are going to be organized. So we actually put it out there as to the type of VMs that you will be hosted on, as well as the number of desktops that will be on that VM that'll be served off of that VM. And all our plans, like we said before, have a bandwidth and backup included, or all our desktops in the business plan has bandwidth and Azure backup included, and comes with it. So it's all priced into it. So this price that you see, $65 per desktop, includes the desktop, includes the Windows license, as well as includes the bandwidth, the backup, as well as the storage. So let me say, I'll just go ahead and let's say take 3 desktops off it. And if you want Microsoft licenses, it give you any number, so not everybody might be using, so I'll say, but I'll go ahead and say 3. The continuum of desktops goes from that to a personal desktops. Here, these are individual desktop, individual VMs for each of these desktops. So again, you can find the specs for that as well. And they are, again, start off from where the multi-sessions leave off and go to additional use cases beyond that. And these get more and more powerful as you go, going from a 2 vCPU 8 GB to 4 vCPU 16 GB. So, and again, you can choose a bunch there as well. Now, on top of that, what we allow you to do is to create your own customized desktops as well. So for whatever reason, you don't see it. So the custom desktops really come in the single session mode. But it's essentially, that's where we see most of the need for a custom desktop is. So let's say you don't see whether the 2 vCPU or the 4 CPU 16 GB doesn't really meet your requirements and you need something else, you can always design a custom desktop. So this is where you decide whether this one just needs a CPU or do you want a GPU to go with it, and you'll have different options based on what you select. So and if it's just CPU, let's say I go for 8 and 32 or 8 and 16, whatever I want to select, with a standard SSD that is 128. So now sometimes we see people doing a lot of real-time applications like trading applications and all of that go for a configuration like this. They might even have a little bit more on the RAM side. It all depends on the applications you're using, and you configure based on that, and you'll get a set of options for each of these types. Now, general purpose and burstable, the general purpose will come with our standard D series desktops, and burstable comes with B series desktop. So there are multiple options that we might provide here, an 8-core option or a 12-core option, just so you can see what the next in the range is based on what you selected, or you can just pick the specific one you wanted, 832, 128. So there is a range that's provided. Now, one thing you have to note is that the discount that Flora and Ashish talked about is not included yet in it, and pretty soon you will start seeing that. But this is pricing access. The discount will be included shortly later this week. But you can choose whichever one you want. So I can say I'll go for the $200 one. It meets all my requirements, not a CPU. So I'll create it for that, my trade desktop, right? Association specific for trading applications. I'm all set. I create this desktop, shows up here, and I can purchase like, okay, I want 4 of that. And essentially go through the process. You can create up to 3 custom desktops, and pretty hopeful that people aren't going to need a lot more than that. But yeah, you can create up to that in your portal and go through with the next steps. And that's essentially what you need as an input for what type of desktops you want. And when we go through this process, it creates the different types of desktops. So here, as once you hit pay, the provisioning automatically starts. All these desktops get provisioned in the back end, and you will start getting emails one after the other about how to access these the admin portal and add users, as well as assign the desktop. So with that, Ashish, are you guys seeing any questions?
One question was whether the M365 are those E5 licenses, Vinod?
Yeah, so these are E5 licenses, but we are a CSP, so you will be purchasing it from us as a CSP, these licenses.
And then another question is, can these workstations be added to a Microsoft domain owned by the customer?
Yeah, certainly. So the question is, can it be added to a Microsoft domain owned by the customer? Yes. So by default, when it comes up with its own domain, but we can reattach it to a different domain once the initial provisioning is complete. So we will go ahead and complete it. You'll get the initial email, but once that initial provisioning is complete, our onboarding team will reach out to you if you want to make any changes, which will include whether you want to add any applications to the image, whether you want to make any changes to the domain, and so on and so forth. And some of that will get completed as part of that process. Okay.
And I'm also just seeing some commentary in the chat around the cost. And, I think it's good feedback for us to hear, especially, I think, again, we are offering both a 30% discount from the WVD side, and then DesktopReady is matching that with a 15% discount, which, again, is not included in the pricing that you were seeing before there. But I think there is something to be said about just the simplification of management. DesktopReady enables everything to happen for you. So instead of having your time, resources, people dedicated to actually deploying and managing these virtual desktops, they're taking care of that for you. So I think if you think about also the holistic picture and the simplified deployment, it's a very useful service for a lot of smaller organizations that we've talked to. So hopefully that helps. And then there's a question too, just a few more that have been popping up. Can these workstations reside on a VLAN, which can be considered internal to a customer's existing Azure LAN?
So yeah, so again, that goes back to how you want to connect, or where do you want to, what kind of VNet you want to assign. So there will be a default VNet under which it's created. And that can be changed to something that you already have either in Azure or within an outside domain as well. So that can be changed once the initial configuration is completed.
Yeah, Flora, I wanted to just maybe elaborate on a couple of questions. I think there was a question from Richard Wallenberg and then Farhan Nisar about the price. So I just wanted to touch that on that a little bit. So one of the comments was, "Hey, I can buy a laptop or a physical desktop for $900 and it lasts me for 7 years. So how would Desktop Ready be more cost effective?" So the idea here is that twofold. One, when you buy an end device, whether a laptop or a desktop, and you use it in the traditional form, that you're using those local resources, and and as as the machine needs to be upgraded, typically let's say 3 to 4 years. If you have in the case of Desktop Ready, for example, you can actually have a thin device or a thin client that is not very expensive. You can actually extend the life of your existing desktop, because now all you need to have is a browser. You don't need to have the latest chip or all the a high level of memory. So in a way, you save costs by extending the life of your existing devices. They don't need to be refreshed as much. Secondly, there is the Microsoft licensing which is included in it. So those, as you move to, let's say, Windows 10, you may have an old desktop, but you will have to upgrade. So that's the second. And third, and most important, somebody needs to manage those desktops when they need to be upgraded, managed when they break down. And in the case of Desktop Ready, we take care of all of that. So there is some cost associated, whether you have somebody in-house or you're using an IT resource outside. So there is some hidden cost to that. So that's something to be to be kept in mind.
And then a few more questions, I think, and I know we're kind of moving into the Q&A section anyways, but Jocelyn asked if they can bring their own E5 licenses, Ashish?
Yes, Vinod, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so you can bring your own licenses and use it within here as well. Yeah.
So just to kind of underline that point, as a nonprofit, obviously we offer 60% discount on M365 E5 licenses. And so if you have those already, or if you want to procure them, Desktop Ready as a CSP can provide them to you at that nonprofit rate. So again, that's just another, again, it's not necessarily demonstrated here on the screen, but keep that in mind in terms of the pricing as well, that as a CSP can be accessed and provided to all of you.
Right.
And then a few more questions. Travis asked, are there any types of backup solutions for this?
Yeah, as we went through it, I mentioned, so we will be doing Azure backup for all the data. So it is built into the pricing as well. So that's, again, when you're looking at pricing, you can think about that as well, as there is an Azure backup, a part of it, as well as patching and upgrade that comes with the service. Also, it continuously keeps everything up to date on your operating system and security.
Perfect. And then one more I'm seeing is there any choice in terms of which data center this is deployed to?
You can choose, today you can choose any of the US data centers. Fairly shortly, we'll be rolling out other regions as well. But today, you can choose between any of the US data centers. Okay. So let me then go through a couple of quick next steps here. Once I'm just going into an admin portal. So this is once your provisioning is complete, you'll get access to the admin portal, where there are a few key things that you would do to manage the environment. And the first thing, obviously, is to add users who you want access to these desktops as in applications. And so this would be a set of users, and you can always add a user to it. And once a user is added, and this is where you assign the desktops to the user also. So what type of desktops, whether it's a personal desktop or a pool desktop. And under personal, you might also have the custom desktops that you might have created, and you can assign them to it along with the licenses as well. So it's essentially simply a toggle option that you can just turn on for any given user, and then that desktop gets assigned here. Let me quickly untoggle this, and so that I can assign it to somebody else. So if the number, your counts are automatically shown here based on what you purchase, so I can assign from one person to another person. So when this assignment happens, there is some work in the back end that happens in terms of registering the right user ID with your Azure AD, as well as registering the right desktop with that user account. And on top of that, if there is Microsoft licenses involved, then registering the licenses as well for that specific user. And all of that happens in the background, so that when the user, now once that is complete, sometimes based on how the synchronization process works, it might take maybe up to 15 minutes or so. And once that is complete, the user gets an email about that being available, the desktop being available along with the applications, and then they should be able to log in to their portal. So they can access the desktop directly from the portal. The user will have a different way of accessing the desktop, so they can access the desktop directly from the portal, and that'll might be logged in as somebody else, but and then that'll give them an access to a desktop pretty much like this, that has all the applications loaded, that they have asked for in the image, as well as the Office licenses if they were assigned as users. So those applications will show up as well. So this is I'm using a HTML5 interface for this desktop. Obviously, there you can use the local client as well to access the desktop. And all of that will directly go to the user as information to access the desktop. From the user's admin page, there are some additional, as an admin, you can get information on overall health score, as well as what are the different infrastructure elements you have. So all of that gives you a little bit more insight as to what's going on, even though you may or may not need it all the time, but gives you a specific view into some of the monitoring pieces and behind the scenes that happens, as well as access to a bunch of reports as well, including peak usage and who's using what, and so on from a usage perspective. So just to give you a little bit more on the usage and capacity from a desktop perspective. So let me pause there. So that gives you an overview of what sort of how do you design a desktop, how do you add what kind of desktops you want to the environment, adding users, assigning them to the desktops, some of that. And you can always contact us for anything with respect to making the desktop as a service. So it's not just about the portal, not just about keeping the control plane up and running, but also if you want any configuration changes, which is very different from some of the other platforms that you might see. Here it is about making that desktop as a service experience end-to-end available to the user. So whether it is about changing the images, any of that, that is all available as part of the support as well, that is readily accessible to you.
Vinod, I think we have 10 minutes left, and we continue to get some good questions. So let's.
So we're good with the demo. So over back to you, Ashish.
All right, thank you. So, a few more questions here. So, continue to see questions on price. So, I wanted to add one other thing to keep in mind is that it may be good to view this virtual cloud desktop option not initially as a full replacement of what you guys are doing, but there may be some specific use cases within your organization that you may want to try it out. I'll give you a few examples. So let's say you have an intern. I had somebody talk about that. Hey, we have an intern coming up in the summertime. I would like to spin it up for a few months. So that's a great use. You got either a seasonal workforce coming up or interns coming up. It would be very easy for you to scale up and scale down. Secondly, one aspect about the price benefit is the fact that if you are bringing new employees or new contractors on board, in the traditional model, you'll have to actually provide them the end device, whether it is $500, $700, or $900. You have to provide them the device. The fact is that DesktopReady is a browser access to Windows 10 environment. So you could be accessing all of your PowerPoints, Excel spreadsheet, all of your apps, from any device, your personal device. It could be, hey, I'm going to give you $100 credit towards your using your own laptop, and everybody has, obviously a personal device. All they need to do is to fire up their browser, and they are up and running. You give them a login access to DesktopReady, and there you go. So that's the other thing. So I just wanted all of us to think about it not as initially a rip and replace, but more as let's try DesktopReady in a few situations, see how it goes, and then expand from there. Some more questions. So how long would it take for deployment of one VM and ready to be used by any user? No?
Yeah, so a pretty straightforward deployment is we'll take it about 20 to 30 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes, you will have this whole setup deployed, and you have a control plane access with the desktop ready to go. So.
Right. Somebody asking, hey, as a nonprofit, I'll be interested in this price if it comes closer to $400 per person per year. I think with the discount that we're talking about, we're getting pretty close to that. So do give us a call. Vinod, if you don't mind moving to the slide which had the contact information, let's put that up.
Yeah, you might have to, or whoever was sharing that before might have to share this one more time.
I'm pulling it up. One second.
Yeah, so while that is coming up, and feel free to go to DesktopReady.com and try out that. This is all out there. You can try out the pricing for various combinations. So it starts off at about $35, and that is again without the discount that Microsoft plus DesktopReady is providing. So that obviously will be where some of the users might be looking at. But it is all of this is free for you to just check out. Just check out the configuration, check out the pricing, and see what it comes out to. There are so many different options that you might be able to find potentially what you want within those options.
Exactly. Yeah. So various ways to get in touch with us. You can send us an email at sales@desktopready.com, or you can email directly to Chris Huffman at anantatech.com. He's going to be very happy to receive that email. And as Vinod mentioned, on our website, you can schedule a demo. We also provide limited trials. So we can provision 1 week or 2 week trials based on your use case. And our trials are white glove assisted trials. So we will work, our team will work with you, understand your environment, and optimize the trial to your environment, all free of cost, so that you can see and test those desktops and see if it makes sense for you. Various ways to kind of get started. And lastly, and there was a question on that, we're not asking for any long-term commitment. You can get a discount of 10% if you do an annual, but most people, most of our customers, they start month to month. And it's no commitments. If it doesn't work for you, your out of pocket is going to be just whatever you spent for those few months. But in most cases, the customers that try, they stay on. Let me kind of go through a few other questions here. There's a question here, if we are accessing RD client, does it go through a RD gateway or does it connect directly via RDP?
So it does use an RD gateway. It is in the architecture slide. We want to go through that, but it does go through an RD gateway. But RDP is the protocol. The end-to-end protocol is RDP for the traffic.
Great. Can it run third-party software like SolidWorks? So yeah, we can work with you, and as part of the business plan, we can actually create a custom image. So like if you all recall, working for larger companies, there is a corporate image which includes all the applications that are provisioned for each employee. So we can create something similar, and you can create for your small business or for your company, you can create an image and deploy that to your customers. How do we overcome the need for large and multiple screens? Can the remote desktop span across multiple monitors? Yes, you can support 2 monitors currently, and be running with two monitors.
Yeah, I think Ashish, if I'm not mistaken, I think we had at least one customer who had 3. So.
Oh, okay, all right, that's even better. How do you address the Windows legacy OS application and/or desktop usage questions?
Yeah, I think there was a question earlier in the chat on legacy Windows applications such as XP and Windows 7 for our Windows Virtual Desktop.
Great. What happens to the data once the desktops are taken down?
Sorry, I don't think that got answered. So just to clarify, it supports Windows 7 in addition to Windows 10 Enterprise as well. Vinod, anything you'd add there?
Yeah, so the question is, how do we run the legacy Windows 7 application?
Legacy Windows applications, exactly.
I have to check back with my technical team. So if you can note down who asked that specific question, we might have to get back to it. I know my technical team worked on a couple of customers who had that. I don't have an answer off the top of my head just for that one.
What happens to the data once the desktop is taken down? So
I think I can take that. So there is I believe it's 15 days. We keep the data for 15 days, allowing you to migrate it wherever you want, wherever you choose. But it'll be there. It won't go away immediately. But after that 15 days, we could keep it around for an extra charge, or it's available to you to migrate to where you need it to go.
And I see 2 questions about communication platforms, so running Teams and Zoom on a Windows Virtual Desktop.
Yep. So I don't know if the question is about whether it is possible or not. So we have run. So the only thing about both of them, Teams and Zoom, is that they work best with the local client instead of the HTML5 client, but they are running well and performant on desktops with adequate power and capacity. So as we went through the use cases, you saw certain desktops which are highlighted for Teams and Zoom. We definitely recommend those configurations.
And just to answer the second part of Jeffrey's question too, local camera and microphone integration is included, and that's true for both new Windows apps and legacy applications.
Yes, so the camera works with the local client, not the HTML5 client, but yes, you can use the camera microphone with the local client and use the applications that utilize them.
Just a question came in. How about running a server-based voice over IP system?
Is it I don't know if it's a server-based end application or if it's a server-based backend.
It's telephone system located in local network.
Yeah, we can certainly. I don't know if I understand sort of all the details about it to answer right away, but as long as the client's running on the Windows 10, the backend can be a server-based application. So, but the client can connect to it and run it through the microphone redirection. But certainly, I'm happy to get into a little bit more technical for that if you want to send us an email.
Perfect. And I think we are just about at time. I'm still seeing some questions coming in the chat, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if you have further questions, I'd say please feel free to reach out to the sales@desktopready.com email, as well as Chris Huffman's email is here on the slide. So please note that down. And just a huge thank you to Ashish and Vinod for taking the time to share more about the Desktop Ready solution and platform. We really believe that their offering is a great way for organizations to enable virtual desktoping, during a really difficult time, and to simplify the ease of management and deployment for that. So I guess Ashish and Vinod, any final thoughts from either of you before we wrap?
Yeah, so I would say, thank you so much for the opportunity, Flora. It's great to talk to nonprofits and see how we can take Microsoft technologies and make them more consumable. I love the questions. I love some of the challenges that we got today on pricing and stuff like that. What I can tell the people on the call right now is that please try us out. It's a no risk, no hidden cost option. We have done a lot of modeling in terms of how do we lower the total cost of ownership of these desktops, so we can share with you in more detail. We are set up to provide high touch trials that will go deep into your use cases and in your environment. And we want to work with you to show and demonstrate how WVD from Desktop Ready can be a longer term solution for you. So what I would request is, come to our website, schedule a demo, send emails to sales@desktopready.com, or reach out directly to Chris Huffman, and we would be scheduling demos, including technical pre-sales people, and we'll take it from there. Vinod, any final thoughts?
No, I think you summed it up. We're excited to work with the WVD technology and the Azure team as well. So, and if you can reach out to us, certainly we can look at ways to make this remote desktops a viable option for you. And that's something that we've seen through the 2020 in March, when we started a lot of remote working. And that's the whole reason we brought Desktop Ready to the larger market as well. And we're certainly looking forward to working with folks who want to try it out.
Right, and let's not forget the limited time offer.
Yep.
Yes, please lean in and take advantage of those WBD and Desktop Ready offers. And yes, thank you again, everyone. Really appreciate it. I did put a survey in the chat, so if you have the time, we'd love your feedback on the session today. So please feel free to fill that out. We'll also send it in the follow-up materials. But if you've got more questions, please reach out to the addresses we put on the slide. And just want to thank you again for the time and energy. Really appreciate great questions and a great discussion today. Have a great rest of your day and a good FY 2021.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.